Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley and welcome to Sub Commanders. It's been a while since I've done this, but now a glorious comeback. Bretonnia versus the Empire. So for those of you who don't know, the way it works is you have two main armies where each player plays a specific role in their force. Think of it like Total War Arena meets traditional Total War. So for instance here for the Empire, Gojira commands all melee infantry. So his build here is going to have Volkmar, a Warrior Priest, a Witch Hunter, 6 Flagellants, a Tattersoul, 4 halberds, and then 6 great swords. So his primary role is going to be to kind of take on the infantry fight. And then Wolf here is going to command skirmishers, artillery, and basic cavalry. He has an Empire general, 3 gunners with the silver bullets. He has 4 basic knights, a handful of cannons, some Hellstorm rocket batteries, and especially some magical, both the Hammer of Witches and also this one, which is the Sunmaker. So this is pretty intense. Finally, Indie Pride has the elite cavalry, and he has a steam tank. So he has 6 Reichsguard here, plus a Zintler's Reichsguard. Really intense stuff. 2 Demigriff Knights, one being the upgraded Altdorf Griffites, and then of course the steam tank. Definitely check out Indie Pride's channel for his perspective. He does great stuff, and he played in this battle, and he has his own recording, so that'll be fun for you to check out. Now on our side for Bretonnia, Benny here has the lady, the Fey Enchantress, and he leads the peasants, the foot squires, and some artillery. So you can see his build up to the top. He has a nice variety of units, and they're pretty actually well cheved up. The 6 foot squires at triple chevron silver, 4 battle pilgrims, and then of course 4 trebuchets, because why the hell not? A critical element of any Bretonnia force. So he's going to be a key unit of ours. Ulrich here is going to be moving forward. He also has a couple peasants, but mostly he's going to be focused on mid-tier cavalry. So his force here is Luan, a damsel. He has 2 battle pilgrims, 4 mobs, a Grail relic, 4 errant knights, 4 knights of the realm, and 3 questing knights. So pretty big build, lots of cavalry. And then finally I'm going to be rounding off the little bit here with Albrecht of Bordelot, and I am bringing the elite cavalry and flying cavalry. So I've got some pretty badass units. Albrecht, a paladin, 4 questing knights, 2 Grail knights, 1 Grail guardian, 2 Pegasus knights, and 1 hippogriff knight. So that is it for the summary of all the forces. And now we're going to get to the deployment of the 2 armies. I'm going to switch over to live replay from the battle so you can enjoy that. All right, how do we want to do this? I mean, if we want to block their cannons, we might as well put a bunch of artillery here, and then we can shoot lob stuff up and over, I think, and hit them.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, we could do that.
Draw their attention. We can put archers to push up and hold the woods here.
Yeah, we could push the hill.
Yeah, I think we should push that way. And then knights ready in the open in the center.
So do you want me to deploy my trebuchet, all 4 of my trebuchets on that near that hill, so I can walk to the hill, or because they're gonna have units over here, so we need something to protect. Like,
if we need to, I can try and bum rush that with a bunch of flyers. We'll see. I wouldn't put all your trebuchets there. Maybe 2 on the left, and we need to keep some, kind of in reserve somewhere.
So my infantry blob can just go anywhere that you want defense.
Leave all your peasants out, like strung out, I don't know, along here-ish, just to absorb any cannon fire or draw fire. If they don't turn off for you, fire at will.
Okay, I kind of want to keep them fairly close together, just so when they get in combat, they all have the Grail Reliquary.
Oh yeah, when we get in combat, we'll definitely do that. But like early on, they should be catching as many cannonballs as they can.
That Grail Reliquary would be better suited with my troops than yours.
Okay.
Okay, where do you want me to do my main cavalry engagement?
Actually, you know what?
I think we should have Cav kind of like ready on the open fields, but spread them out so we're not going to get shot too easily. Peasant sprinkled in the front is good. Let's see, what else do we want? I think this is looking pretty good. So we have the 2 trebuchets kind of suppressing the hill. The other one's kind of here is pretty good. Yeah, I think that's a fair position.
I'll split them up a little bit so we have them in 2 positions. Here.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of all hedging our bets on this side, which I guess works.
Yeah.
Don't have too much spread out on the far right. Maybe like, yeah, that one questing knight here hidden in case we need to flank around. But I think most of our stuff should stay together. I've already got some knights here hidden.
They're gonna have such a bigger army than we are. Oh, what? We have more troops than they do.
Yep, that's what peasants will do.
They must have brought steam tanks and luminarchs like fucking crazy too. Yeah, but we only have 4 peasant. We only have 4 like 160 units. The rest of them are all 120, just like regular Empire troops. So
yep,
they must have a lot of high tier shit like demis and shit like that.
Yeah. So okay, again, let's try and push to hold here. Cannons to suppress. I'll send my flyers over. Okay. And the play up the left will be turn trebuchet fire at will off, and let's try and pick good targets. Probably prioritize great swords or good cav that they have.
Yeah.
If we want to push super hard up this hill, I may need another lord support. If you want to bring Luong over here, just so we can take this hill and give covering fire as we push up.
I'm gonna keep Faye in the woods along with her damsel because I've got I think we could really make use of Curse of the Midnight Wind. Oh shit, they start bunch of dicks. Alright.
Well, here goes nothing.
Yeah.
Alright, sweet, take the hill.
Oh, they're all on this side.
Take the hill. Okay. Yeah, this is good. So let's move our infantry up so we can hold this position and just overwatch. They're going to try and move to react. Yeah, start going around the right side. That looks good. And then I think we can move our trebuchets up a little bit, but try and stay outside of whatever range stuff they have. So that is it for the opening deployment phase. That's a snippet of the live commentary that was done of the battle itself. If you do enjoy that, I have a full version from my perspective where you can check out the entire battle live from my side. So if you want to continue that narrative, check that one out. Otherwise, this video is going to be mostly done with cinematic shots, so I'm going to be splicing in views like this, and then in cinematic shots, well, that's kind of redundant. It's just, you'll see. It's going to be really epic stuff because this is a battle worth covering with epic shots, so I wanted to make sure I came in and edited a lot of things. On the left flank, Indy's going to be pushing forward with his huge roving Rights Guard force, and he's going to be trying to press us back, get around our flank, threaten our units, perhaps try and strip away some of our trebuchets. He has Call France, he has a Damsel, he has a another unit as well, a Jade Wizard. However, we're going to tell our forces over here to start just punishing them. So Benny is going to be told to target this force with trebuchets, and it's going to be enough to dissuade Indy. So already we're getting some callouts and some communication and getting a little bit of zone of control. It's really nice to have that with the trebuchets. We were thinking we would get outgunned by the enemy, but for the time being we seem to be doing okay while we're out of range. And we're not necessarily sure we want to contend with the enemy on the right flank, so we're going to pull back a little bit with our cav, just bide our time, keep them at arm's length, and then start to press the left, because that's, as you heard in our deployment phase, our game plan. Seize the left, push up through the forest with cavalry, with archers, with squires, and just use this as our hold strong position, and then move up the trebuchets on the far left. However, once we start to get into position, this is when we start to realize, oh shit, they brought a lot of Hellstorm rocket batteries. From the enemy's perspective, this is what I'm talking about, the cinematic shots that I'm going to be splicing into this. And yeah, it's definitely going to be worth it. This is really, really good stuff. And this is one of the reasons why we put the mob out front. Yep, they are meant to catch all of that type of fire and absorb a lot of the enemy's ammunition. But, you know, we only have so many peasants to throw at the enemy before it has to be dealt with the knights themselves. And that's going to be coming around soon. But on this side, we now are locked and loaded in position. The trebuchets are going to start to fire, and we have a perfect arc up over the tree line, and the tree line actually prevents the enemy from firing back. And now you can see it's going to be starting to land and chip away at the enemy greatswords. As you heard also earlier in the commentary, I told my allies, Benny, to make sure we prioritize our targets and to hit the greatswords in particular. The enemy is going to respond in kind, and rather than targeting the peasants, they're actually going to start to strike at our rear lines over there. That's where we have more battle pilgrims and juicier targets. So you start to see a back and forth of shots on all sides. This is a cool opening skirmishing phase, and this is one of the things you'll see with sub-commanders, is because everyone plays as their own independent force, the battle is forced to play out a little bit slower, a little bit more strategic, because no one can go at it by themselves. You have to wait to time your moves with your opponent, or sorry, with your ally. So that's what makes it really cool, really interesting. I think it brings out the best of Total War. One of the neat things about this is it kind of creates, I wouldn't say super realistic, but at least a little bit more realistic battlefield command problems, whereby gaps will open up between players because communication is not completely perfect when you don't have full control, and so the slight mistimings in units are going to create opportunities for the other enemy to exploit. So you'll be seeing a lot of those types of situations in this battle. On the right hand flank, Indy's moving forward, posturing with his Reichsguard, and we have a couple more units positioning over here. For instance, this is going to be my Lord, and he's kind of on Overwatch. Or no, actually, sorry, that was Urich's Lord. He's watching, and then Benny's going to try and support with the trebuchets. So they're doing a good kind of overlapping support role on that flank. Meanwhile, over here, we're starting to move up. Urich is committing a couple more units, but Benny's going to open fire with his peasant bowmen. And so from the perspective of our line, you can see them just opening up at the tree line. We're going to start targeting the flagellants, really weakening the left flank. The enemy is going to respond in kind and again try and pummel our forces over there who are massed. But the enemy is full on rush mode. At the same time, we notice that they have no halberds up front. So we're going to pull all our infantry into the woods and do a fighting retreat and just wait for the cavalry to come in. We've signaled to, well, myself and our allies to bring them up. And then we've also signaled to the artillery commander to start suppressing key units. Meanwhile, the enemy force here is going to start firing back at us. This is going to be Wolf. He's going to be targeting everything into the woods. This reminds me of the opening scenes of Gladiator, where you have all the artillery firing into the woods, everything exploding in here, and so it's a really cool cinematic shot to see. We're being somewhat protected by the woods, but it's not going to be doing too much. Yeah, look at all our guys seeking shelter in the woods, and what they're doing is they're kind of opening a big gap in the central plain, which normally would be a bad move, but when it comes to Bretonnia, peasants making way for knights who are going to engage in a charge, yeah, that is the battle standard of the day. Now, with this kind of move happening, with our infantry rolling into the woods, we're going to pour forward with some of our knights, and they're going to see the awesome perspective of the peasants running into the woods with explosions happening, and they see this gap and they're going to exploit it. Meanwhile, on the right, Indy is a bit detached from his force, which is going to be a good opportunity for us to exploit. And up through the center, the enemy is charging forward with the flagellants. Here is one of those times where the enemy has miscalculated their teamwork, and there is nothing to support these flagellants. We get a nice big fat hit with the cavalry, get clean moves. Enemy priests are going to try and deal damage to us, but we pull out before enemy skirmishers or anything can punish us. So I would say our coordination is going much better on this front. We even managed to get a knight behind these greatswords and just do tremendous damage up through the center. My questing knights are almost in position, and I'm targeting those greatswords. On the right, the enemy is kind of being a little bit more cautious. They see all of our squires moving on the right, so they're going to try and reform. Indy is probably being chastened by his teammates to do something, because otherwise they're going to be triple teamed, and so he's going to swarm forward with one of the biggest Reichsguard charges you will ever see. And this is going to be a multi-front battle, so you do miss out on this a little bit if you watch the live commentary. You don't get to see all the intricacies, but here we're going to be seeing every little bit played out in full detail. Back to the main line, here is the gap that I found. And so my units are going to pour forward. Artillery is still targeting the wrong units, but now they're going to refire at the center. On team chat, I'm sure the enemy is just shouting into their mics to try and suppress this force before it hits the greatswords, but alas, it's too little too late. We hit them in full force, and in the distance you can see some of my flyers also striking at the enemy units from the back. So the enemy is a bit in shambles, but soon their cohesion is going to be found once again. The enemy skirmishers are going to start to pull up. So that is going to be Wolf's forces, the gunners, the handgunners in particular are going to be here. They're going to be here to plug the gaps, and so I spot an opportunity to try and perhaps strike again with one of my cavalry units. and we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, over here, our guys are dealing a lot of damage, but here where I tried to plug the gap with my cavalry, the reinforcements from Wolf arrived just in time. The knights were eager to exploit this gap, but take a look, they're going to get a face full of lead here. So this is good teamwork on our opponent's part. Gojira and Wolf teaming up nicely to here hold the line and plug the gaps. Artillery and close support also suppressing our flying units and lords, and there is one Bretonian charge rebuffed. But the flyers that are in here in the mix are going to be pretty critical. We're going to try and suppress this position. We don't necessarily have that many troops to take out the enemy, and I get a little bit spooked here. I was going to land and try and take out the enemy, but I got scared off by the two handgunnery forces. And so I'm going to pull back and try and deal with the enemy main line here. Some more units are going to get charged, just murdered by the Hippogriff Knights. But the enemy is going to respond in kind with suppressing fire, and the handgunners are in position. Look at them firing into our forces, doing lots of damage. A lot of my Pegasus Knights are taking a beating. Man, these forces wish they had canister shot. A net being cast on my left units, holding them in place, but the Hippogriff Knights are going to be able to land, and now we're going to start to tie down these guys a little bit. We'll see if the enemy coordination is enough, but so far it doesn't quite seem to be there. Although right in front of your screen, the general does charge into the action, so he's going to try and salvage these forces. So this is pretty epic. We're trying to get rid of all the crew. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield by Indy's Reichsguard, his steam tank is continuing to pummel our side, doing a lot of damage, and actually he's opening up a chance for Indy's units to charge in. They do find a little gap, hit our trebuchets, and they're all going to pour in here. Our trebuchets are going to desperately try and fire and do damage to suppress these guys, but this is an unending column of knights coming in. And they're going to push right on through the barrage and hit our trebuchets, but the one thing that they did is they overcommitted here, and by going after our trebuchets, you can see our knights starting to get to the surround on them. And look in the back, yep, we're going to get a full-on charge into the back of these Knights of the Blazing Sun and Empire Knights, and boom, this is going to be punishing stuff. Sandwich as they are, they were previously outclassed, now they're going to be demolished. We had more reinforcements try and get into the mix. The enemy's going to tie us down and do their own rear charge with the Reichsguard, so we're trading blows all over the place here. It is a frantic, hectic battle. And the enemy is making really good use of that net of Emmentalk, tying down our guys where and whenever possible in really critical moments. You saw them do it to the Pegasus Knights who were charging the enemy gun emplacements, and over here they're doing a good job as well. Grail Knights are going to be pulled in. These are some of our elite reserve forces. They're going to charge in, and then on the extreme right flank we're going to have an engagement through the woods. It looks like the enemy knights here are not targeting our forces, and we're going to just smash into each other here in the woods. Although the World Outdoor Griffites decide that they would be better used in the central engagement where we have sandwich after sandwich taking place. And they're going to get in at the rear of my forces, so I don't know how many layers of sandwiching this is, but it is a lot at this point. And that's why we have Louan-Léoncoeur in the mix, trying to help out with this engagement, but it could go either way, although the Reichsguard are starting to crumble. More knights being pulled in. They're going to try and hit some of our forces. Steam tank also getting a lot of kills. So this is very much still up in the air, although it looks like we're getting a little bit of the edge. Yeah, and these guys are desperate to hit our trebuchets. But I believe at the last moment we do intercept. Half of them are going to hit our trebuchets, but not be enough to deal death to the crew. The trebuchets themselves going to be protecting the crew members. Back on this front, the additional units who charge in from the Empire are going to see off our forces. The Outdoor Griffites is doing a lot of work, and they may end up doing a lot of damage to Louan-Léoncoeur, so I think he's going to try and pull out of here. Yep, there he goes, trying to extradite himself from that situation. Steam tank also firing around. And here goes a net. So they're going to try and pin our forces. Meanwhile, far off in the woods here, it looks like our questing knights aren't being defeated, mostly because Karl Franz is supporting that front, so Indy doing a good job microing his lord to win those engagements. Back in the center, my flyers are still continuing to hammer and anvil those blobs. They're still running amok amidst the enemy artillery. My paladins also among these positions, and they have a lot of it tied down, which is giving some reprieve to our front lines. Where here we've taken a beating. I think we've beat the snot out of both forces. Enemy greatswords are still alive, but we still have some foot squires in the woods, so we're trading almost down to 0 for both sides here. And now it looks like the guns are continuing to fire. That does signal the fact that some of our flyers are starting to die off in the background. So once the guns get reignited, and retarget our guys, that is going to be bad news for us. And yeah, you can see our flyers there seeing off, mostly because of Wolf coming back with his skirmishers and dealing damage. Meanwhile, over here, we're trying to have a coordinated effort with artillery commanded by Benny. Ulrich is also committing some knights as well as my own knights. We're all triple teaming on this side to try and secure this flank. We know this is a critical position, and we get some knights straight up into the great swords, so this will help turn the tide a bit for us. And what we're trying to do is just clear opposition on this front, and that'll allow us to finally curl around the enemy's flank, and our goal is to go after this juicy target in the center. Still Hippogriff Knights with 3 units left, but most of the enemy is free, and these gunners are now going to start to pick apart our remaining forces. They are pretty devastating. We really need to get units free, but they're being guarded by halberds, so it's going to be kind of up to the foot squires to carve a way through. Another thing we can try and do is to try and suppress these handgunners who are currently taking out all of our Pegasus Knights and other units with nets and all that. Is take a look at that first strike coming in. That is us coordinating with Benny and telling his trebuchets, please fire to suppress these positions, so he's going to do just that. Meanwhile, over here, I'm going to move with my knights and my allies' knights around this flank. We're cleaning up the remainder of the enemy foot troops. We're going to go for a big sweeping flank through the woods, and we're going to target the enemy in the center that's putting on a lot of hurt to our guys. Yeah, Trebuchet is still firing away. There are Tattersouls, which are going to be giving us a big bit of trouble on this front. Not going to die, and they're going to hold strong until the end of the battle. They are very much unbreakable. Volkmar as well, going to see off our units. So enemy still has some unbreakable units on this side that's going to be seeing us off, and we don't have too much that's steady here, mostly because we drew all our knights away from that engagement, decided to abandon it, figuring that it was not, you know, to our advantage to chase after 2 unbreakable units. Might as well go for the meat of the enemy force, and that is going to be the almost unguarded enemy cannons and gun crew. So here come the knights charging out of the forest after the enemy. My flyers also coming back from the retreat, so they're going to try and get in at the enemy. Our opponents are coordinating. Indy calls out for a net to be thrown out, and so he does successfully get a couple of our bigger units tied down. But that's going to be it. The rest of our units are going to charge right in through unopposed, straight into the cannon. Trebuchet is still firing. The enemy handgunners are going to turn around to try and shoot us, but we have enough units to detach and swarm around and hit almost everything at once here. So for instance, you can see my Grail Knights detaching from that engagement, doing an about move, and now they're going to charge right into these cannons. I also cast a spell on the enemy to hit them, and so we're trying to just destroy everything here. The net is also deactivated, so now we have free reign to kill everything in the vicinity. So this is the final potent bit of the enemy's force. We're able to see it off, and this is going to turn the tide rather significantly in our advantage, in our favor. What remains of the enemy foot troops are still stuck in the woods, but that's fine. We can turn and deal with them now that they have none of the supporting fire of the artillery. I'm going to pivot back to watch a little bit of the combat as it took place in the center. You can see the withered remains of the troops there. And then we can see a little bit more from a top view this time around of my cavalry executing the maneuver to get around. And some of the gunners trying to shoot at our flying lords, but it's not going to be enough. Trebuchet is continuing to suppress. We were able to stave off the enemy on this side from suppressing them, and that was also a big boon. They're helping to save the middle fight. It looks like the steam tank also committed to the center, and he cleaned up that central fight. Over in this position, we did send in reinforcements, and I believe we were able to kill Karl Franz with King Duan. So lords fighting lords all around, and it was cool to get down to the final phases where it's not just the lord coming to the rescue, but it's each individual player and their particular contingents of units. The steam tank's days are numbered. Yes, it's going to be able to kill the remainder of our knights, but it's going to get surrounded. And over here, the remainder of the Empire forces are shattered, so now we can turn our attention to the few remaining units. Gun crew in the center, trying to get after our Grail Relic. And I'm a little bit scared for my units who remain over here. A Witch Hunter is still in position, Volkmar and Tattersouls. And we only have peasants. So most of our units are going to be chased off. And we're going to finally abandon the guns. This is a position we staked out at the beginning of the fight, but here it's going to get its head bashed in and clobbered by the flagellants who are here going to kill the peasants manning the trebuchets, finally getting vengeance. And the witch hunter also in here. He's kind of cool amongst the flagellants. I don't know if he did too much in this battle, but it was cool to see him stalking around the battlefield, sniping knights with pistols. And yeah, the enemy finally has secured a little bit of a victory, seizing the hill here, and they're going to turn their attention back on our remaining forces. The Grail Relic, they're going to try and chase it off. Our peasants tried to move up here to rally our forces, clinking through here with their little bells. We're going to take one look at Volkmar and the other unbreakable forces, and the battle pilgrims here are going to turn around with their Grail Relic and go clinking back into the forest. Meanwhile, we still have some pretty healthy units. I do want to disengage from the flagellants and great swords. I don't want to engage with that blob just yet. And so I'm going to try and reform, try and take out the remainder of the enemy, and then I'm going to signal to Benny to try and turn his trebuchets to deal with that. And then meanwhile in the center, we're committing everything. My Grail Knights, flying hippogriffs, everything is going to be coming in. Yep, King Luon, everything is going to be coming in to try and kill the last resistance from the Empire. And that is going to be the steam tank. It does get a final shot off against our knights, but now it's fully surrounded and there is little hope. Yeah, so this is going to be the final takedown of Indy's last remaining force. Pretty epic stuff. And he did try and send some desperate knights in to save the day, but too little, too late. And yeah, this thing is dropping in health really quickly. I give it about 3, 4, 5 seconds. That is about all it has to live. A couple more blows, and yep, this Lord landing here is going to do it in, and it should explode. Boom, there it goes. So that's victory gained for us on this side. A battle for Bretonnia, and now the Hippogriff Knights are off. The Knights are off, everything is off, and what we're going to try and do is finish off the remainder of the enemy. It's only going to be a couple foot units here. Nothing that we can't do with a knightly charge to finish up the flagellants. And that's about it for the enemy forces. The only thing that really remains now is going to be the unbreakable units up at the hilltop position, namely the Tattersouls and Volkmar. Our Tattersouls here, or the enemy's Tattersouls, are going to try and get after our poor peasants, so we're going to try and shoot them down, but I don't think we'll be able to kill them. Meanwhile, over here, you can watch the final epic conclusion of this fight, dealt Lord to Lord. And I really do hope you guys enjoyed Sub-Commanders. This is something that one of you had sent me a message of, asking that I return to it. It's a type of battle that plays out really differently, very fun. I do recommend you try it with your friends and even randoms. It feels very differently. It puts an emphasis on troops and tactics that you don't normally see in traditional Total War. And I think it works hand in hand with custom maps, which allow you to play with larger settings and fronts. So definitely try and play this with your buddies. I'll be hosting more of these battles. Do note that they take a little bit more time for me to set up, to coordinate, to do the recordings, because I want to get the cinematics for this, but it does take a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, as you saw with this battle, I mean, it's truly worth it. I'm still playing around with kind of how I want to mix the videos in terms of the style. I'll record the battles live, and then maybe I'll do a splice between cinematic and live. In this case, I did 2 separate videos, this one being the cinematic one, and then a separate one being the live one, which you can check out for sure if you want to. So let me know in the comments below what you prefer in style, if you like the 2 different versions so you can enjoy it as you please, or if you want one where I mesh them 2 together. And now this is cool, coming out of the forest, the remainder of all our forces, even the Fae, Enchantress also being here, and now final climatic engagement. Also, be sure to check out Indie Pride's channel if you are interested in this type of battle and the tactics that were employed. Check out his side of the commentary where he tells the story of the noble Empire hold against Bretonnia and see what their tactics were employed, what surprised them, what they were expecting to do, what perhaps went right or went wrong. So yeah, this is going to be it for this engagement, and we'll close out with the final little movements here. Overall, I do say I am enjoying Bretonnia. I do believe some of their units, as people have reported, are a little bit OP. Foot Squires, according to some testing from multiple people, do end up being a bit too cost effective. So in this battle we brought 6 of them, so perhaps that was a little bit owing to our favorability in the melee fight, more so than we would have expected. That's one unit. Also, I heard that the Green Knight can perhaps be overpowered. But I don't know, it's tempered. I think some of the other knights as well, people were complaining about certain ones of them. I think it was questing knights or errant knights. I won't pretend to know. I'll just stop my commentary there. Check out Indie Pride. He does a lot of good feedback on balancing and testing. Meanwhile, if you look at the different unit sets, you can see who got the most number of kills. Looks like it's pretty evenly spread around. The low tier knights not really getting that many kills. Overall, Knights of the Realm doing okay, but when you come to my guys, I only brought 478 men to the fight. But in terms of kills, I got a lot of the kills on the questing knights. Really paid for themselves. Grail Knights also getting good damage, and the Pegasus Knights also cleaned up a lot of the enemy rear lines, getting some triple chevrons on the Royal Hippogriff Knights, so they got a lot of value kills. Indie Pride's force also, the elite guys get tons of kills. Royal Outdoor Griffites 116, Reichsguard with getting lots of kills, and they traded fairly cost effectively against our knights. Even Karl Franz doing good work. Wolf, meanwhile, who fielded the artillery, got so many kills with the Sunmaker and the Hellstorm Rocket Battery, mostly targeting peasants, whereas his Empire Knights just got obliterated, faced up against us. And I do have to say that his skirmishers just really didn't do too much. They killed a couple of our knights, but not really that much. Meanwhile, Gojiro did a great job with greatswords, getting lots of kills. Halberds, I think his army traded perhaps the most cost effectively, but look at him. He brought 2 times more than Wolf, 5 times more than Indy, so you'd expect him to get a fair amount of kills. He threw a lot of bodies in the field, and that's what was necessary to absorb our peasant charges. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Leave your feedback if you enjoy this type of content, and if you have any recommendations for what we should do next. Changes in style, changes in factions, changes in maps. See you in the next one. Peace out.